What is going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday,
up, guys.
Welcome to this nameless podcast today.
The unknown
Doesn't
podcast.
matter because we have Mr. Sam Singh and Mr. Jonah Korchin here today. We're gonna be chatting a little bit about first deals, talking about where we're at today, and man, we're gonna have some fun. So, Sam, kind of lead us into a little bit about why you decided to pick this beautiful, handsome man named Jonah for the.
I don't know why you ever would. I don't know. There are so many cooler people than me.
So I'm like obsessed, right? I am actually obsessed with hanging out with dope people. And I always knew that Jonah was a dope guy. I actually met him, I think, through a Q&A in Subto. And he's not wearing it right now. I'm a little bit disappointed that he's not wearing this robe that he normally wears.
I'll put it on. Hold on.
There you go. There we go. He's going to go get it. You guys are going to see it is the most colorful, amazing robe ever. There it is.
It's just a little hot. I might have to take it off. It's like kind of hot in SF right now. But this is my way to keep comfy.
My introduction.
Keep talking about how dope I am.
There you go. There you go. So my introduction to Jonah was on a Tuesday night Q&A with Pace, and he looked like a professor at Hogwarts with this robe on. And I was like, that is a dope guy. And I knew that he was doing some high-level things because he was a Mastermind student. And he and I connected a little bit. We had phenomenal conversations over the phone. I think we maybe met on a Zoom once or twice. And I recently got to meet Jonah in San Francisco. I went up there for an Airbnb event. And Jonah in person he's just on another wavelength. Like, he's awesome on the phone. He's awesome on Q&As. You know, he didn't wear the robe in person. I was a little bit disappointed to not meet him in public with the robe on.
Funny if I'm just at the Airbnb event with this robe on.
I mean, that's what I was hoping for. I was hoping for that. But after that, I got to meet him in person. He's a phenomenal guy, and he's probably one of the funniest people in Subto.
That's true.
That is
goddamn true. That's what I'm gunning for. I'm not gunning for the most money. I'm gunning for the most hilarious.
I love that. So after that, I was adamant that we had to get Jonah on the podcast. I had to share this space with him. So I want Logan. I mean, you're a guy that, you know, you're a good friend of mine. And I'm like, Logan needs to meet the funniest person in Subto.
We've met before. We went to the same Mastermind.
Exactly. I didn't know that. I'm not a Mastermind.
I know
now we're educating Sam.
Yeah, I'm like I'm a noob, right? That's what it is. I'm not I haven't attained that level yet. I haven't evolved and be a Mastermind student yet. So for me, it's just like, oh, okay, these two guys would meet, and of course they know each other. Of course they're best friends. But regardless, I'm happy we're here.
That's awesome. So Jonah, everyone out there is like, okay, the guy's a Mastermind student making money. We'll talk about how much money you make right now. But how'd you get into it? Like, what is your did you just like have money? Did you just were you just born with this game of being able to talk to sellers and get deals and buy properties? You were like, that was probably just given to you, right?
No, definitely not. It definitely was not given.
Really? Tell us how you started. We're curious now.
So I have always had an entrepreneurial spirit. It's been in me for a really long time. Like I remember in college, I was scalping tickets. I was selling Lyft. I was not like you downloading Lyft, but like being a Lyft driver. Like back in the day, they'd pay you like $500 per Lyft driver that you signed up. Nice. So I had like mini side hustles since college for sure. And then after that, I say I have two sides to me. And this is honestly why I love real estate so much, is because they merge the two sides really well together. I have this side that's like, I really want to help people. I really love doing that. When I graduated college, I actually initially went into the Peace Corps, which is like the exact opposite on the money side, right? You're like literally the most broke person possible. More like
Jonah's a
beyond below the poverty line, right? But I wanted to do that for a bunch of different reasons. I wanted to learn Spanish and all this other stuff. But I, for a while, kind of had this mindset issue where it's like, okay, how do I merge doing dope things for humanity with my urge to make money? I had both of these urges inside of me. Like there's the urge of like, I don't want to, like, I want to be financially successful. And then also I really want to help people. And I hadn't seen a way I could do that until after the Peace Corps, which for a while I was like a little bit dizzy. Like I was kind of very lost right when I came back. I like initially started looking for jobs, right? Just because like I was like, man, I don't know how I can start business. I don't know what business. I know myself, I'm not creating an iPhone. I just know it. I'm actually know that I'm not creative. I'm very hardworking and I'm a good entrepreneur, but there's a difference to creativity that I just know I don't have. But anywho, so I was searching for some jobs for a while, and then I finally landed one, and it was they gave me a job offer, and it was like an assistant manager at an insurance company or something like that. And I remember like they gave me it. I like started driving home, and I remember literally thinking to myself, like, it can't end like this. This is not how my life is going to end as an insurance salesman right now, right? Like I like that point, it kind of clicked. Like I had to figure something out. So I started doing like research into stocks. I started studying Warren Buffett for like a couple months, and that was cool, but that didn't get like my helping side in there enough. Like it's just, that's like a solo game, stocks, more or less. Like you're just doing research all the time and like choosing stocks and like researching fundamentals, which is cool, but it's not social, and I'm a pretty social guy. And then right before the pandemic, I went to this real estate meetup in San Francisco. It was like, I don't even remember what it was about. I think it was just about rentals or something. And it was interesting, but I was like, man, I have no money whatsoever. Like the most money I'd ever made in a year was like $6,000. This is how broke I was, because it was like,
how do you live in San Francisco on $6,000?
Well, I was living with my parents at that point. Like I was in my parents' basement type of thing, like trying to figure out my life. Like I graduated college,
wearing that robe.
I then Peace Corps, which is like that's Peace Corps was where I made that $6,000. The most money I'd ever made was living in a foreign country taking bucket baths, right? So that's how much money I'd made so far in my life. I go to this thing. I'm like, okay, this is great and all, but like I have literally no money. So like this doesn't really make any sense to me. Yeah. And then somebody there mentioned wholesaling when I was talking about it, or when they were talking about things. And I like, it didn't click immediately. I'm like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. Let me know more about it. Went to a few more meetups. I finally met a real live wholesaler, because like most of these meetups, I didn't even meet a wholesaler. They were just all fix and flippers or buy and hold people. I like wanted to talk to him. Like, dude, let me buy you lunch. I want to know more about this. I'm this so curious to me. Asked him a ton of questions. He told me about PropStream, told me about skip tracing, all this stuff. And then like, it kind of just clicked in my head that wholesaling was like the perfect business for me. Like, it's just perfect for me. It's no inventory. I don't have to be creative. It's literally just your ability to stay consistent and like relate to another human being. That's so simple that I was like, I know I can do this. There are too many people doing this. There are too many. It just makes total sense that it's not a scam. Like, I don't know how, like, I don't know why people think it's a scam. It's like, it just makes sense that it wouldn't be and then, so I was like, dude, like I'm doing this. I'm going all in. What I did, I hadn't joined Astro yet. I was an Astro student before I was a Subto student. What I did with my first skip tracing and marketing costs, because some people might be wondering, well, Jonah, the most you ever made was $6,000 a year, and I had probably like $4,000 saved up. They're like, that seems like a very small marketing budget. And you're right, fans, it is a very small marketing budget. So what I did is luckily I have good credit. So what I did is I got one of those credit cards that's like, it's 0% interest for a year. And so I just was like, all right, they gave me a $10,000 limit. I'm going to use this and I'm going to make this fucking happen. Or I'm going to, sorry for swearing, but like, I'm going to make this happen or I'm going to die trying. So we're going to do it, basically. And then I spent the money on Astro, and that was amazing. And that was my first program before Subto. How do you just want me to keep going with the story? Like, I don't know how far you want me to go.
Keep going. Keep going.
I was just going to interject to say this one thing for everyone that's new. If you don't have money, I don't recommend.
Yeah, don't be me.
Don't recommend maximizing, maxing out a credit card or two.
Don't do that.
But Jonah is special. Jonah is amazing. So he's one of the only people that can make that work.
I'm insane is the issue. The issue is that like I'm also like I just kind of knew that I could do this, and I don't recommend it for most people at all. But it's my story. It's what I did. So I joined Astro. They suckered me in, but I'm so glad I got suckered in because it was amazing having a really good mentorship program, especially at the beginning, just so that you can you get to ask. When I joined, it was Josiah, who's actually the CEO of Keegley. Very few people know him, but then eventually it became Jamil. And to have somebody at that level, of just an insane caliber who will answer your questions when you're trying to do something it's worth it if you have the money or want to just be crazy like me. But
so Joe, let me ask you something about Astro. So obviously you learned a lot of things from Astro, but if you had to sum it up, what was the big domino that you got from Astro that allowed you just to have that tipping point to get your first deal and to get you started in the game?
So in Astro, I didn't really do the Astro model at first. The tipping point, or what made it to where I am now, is the fact that you can utilize other people to get deals. You don't have to do the whole marketing and traditional marketing that most people learn on YouTube and spending a ton of money. You can literally do it for free. That's the big domino of that course.
Yeah. So real quick for people that don't know and people who aren't familiar with Astro and what its setup is, Astro is almost holistically based on the JV model, right? I mean, can you kind of run us in short, what is the Astro model?
So basically the Astro model, so the basic Astro model, which is what you should do, I think anybody who's just starting, because it's literally the quickest way to get a deal, is being the middleman. So there's the Astro model that's micro flipping, which is where there's a wholesaler who did all the marketing and locked up the contract. And then, a disposition wholesaler like me in San Francisco, somebody who's more experienced, has 1,000 buyers or whatever, and knows and works on that. And then you just connect those and make a $3,000 fee. That's the beginning of the Astro model, is being that middleman. Then it's talking about being a dispo wholesaler, which is what I consider myself now, where you network with agents and wholesalers to get deals, where you have been working so hard on getting buyers and making relationships with those buyers. I get lunch with my buyers. I buy them lunch. I did a flip with one of them. I really spend a lot of time making it where they answer my calls, right? I'm not just sending out email blasts. I'm actually creating relationships with them at the same time.
So as a new person who wants to do Astro, do you go get the deal first, or do you find your buyer first? Do you find the chicken or the egg? What is
I would say the easiest way is you first just start with just finding power players in the market, wholesalers who are doing a lot of deals.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the best way to do that is just go on Google, put in real estate, what's it called? Sell my house now, sell my house quickly now, San Francisco or whatever market you're in. Find somebody, there'll be a big wholesaler on there. I promise you, doing PPC or something. Just have that guy giving you buy numbers. or if there's a Keighley in your market, use Keighley, but like there's no Keighley in my market, right? Like I'm the makeshift Keighley of San Francisco is what I call myself. But you find power players like that who already have the buyers, and then you just go on the Facebook group to all those wholesalers who are posting, right? And you just start connecting with them and start talking about, it's like, hey, like I have some buyers. I think they'd be really interested in this property. Are you okay with we sign like a JV agreement? It's non-exclusive, and then I market it to my buyers. Some wholesalers are idiots and say no, but if you're a smart wholesaler, you always say yes because it just sees more eyes. Yeah. But that's if you're broke. That's what I would do, to just get a quick 2 or 3K or something, and just like get some money in your pocket.
And then once you have this agreement with these wholesalers that say, yes, you give me, like, we sign an agreement, I'll go sell your deal for you. Then at that point, you're going to find buyers. And so what is your strategy? Again, thinking about this from the standpoint of someone who's brand new, how do they go create their buyers list? How do they go get in a position where they can actually buy their buyers lunch?
So best way, in my opinion, to start is just Facebook posts, Craigslist ads, to doing what I was talking about, just Googling, because you'll get buyers that way too. Googling like sell my house fast, or, like forgetting right now. I could look. There's like a bunch of like catchphrases you could say, like, I need to sell my house fast, or like real estate investor, San Francisco. Like there's so many different things you can. We buy homes. That's the one. We buy homes fast. That's the one that really will get a lot. Call all of those people, post in Facebook groups, post Craigslist ads in every single county in your market. And then also go into Facebook groups. I think Facebook groups is how I did almost all of this, is look on Facebook, go San Francisco wholesale properties, or Sacramento wholesale properties, or San Francisco fix and flips, or San Francisco real estate investors, or any of those. Just post in there, add people who are in there, add them. And then once they accept your friend request, send them a little message just being like, what you do is you say like, hey, do you have any fixers? That way you get wholesalers and agents. And then if it is a buyer, they'll be like, I don't have fixers, I buy fixers. And then you're like, okay, great. Then I'll add you to my list. Right. So that's how I built my buyers list really over time. I've got like a bunch of more expensive ways I do it now too, like skip tracing buyers, cash buyers in my area. And I also integrated, I don't know how much I like this software yet. It's called Connected. It's kind of expensive for it, but like it sends messages to people on LinkedIn, which is kind of cool. But I would say Facebook groups are like the easiest and quickest and cheapest way to get buyers, in my opinion.
And so I wanted to hit on something, just kind of backtracking a little bit, something that you mentioned, and you talked about how you are basically positioning yourself to be the middleman, right? The middleman is the wholesaler traditionally, right?
Yeah.
It's the seller, the end buyer, and the middleman is the wholesaler. And then what you're really doing is you're coming across a little bit right after the wholesaler being the middleman to the middleman, right? And it's something that you mentioned, something that we talk about in Subto quite a bit. And he talks about getting more eyes on the deal. And here's a tremendous value add, because that wholesaler who has a deal, he may only have a few deals. He may not be super experienced. He may not have a ton of buyers. And Logan, I don't know if you know this, but this is something that I quickly learned in Subto. And the two reasons that deals don't sell, number one is almost always it's either a bad deal, it's going to be a bad deal, or two, there's not enough eyes on it. And that's where the middleman shows up.
Exactly.
Amazing. I love that. I mean, that's like the secret answer right there. That's your value add. That's the positioning of the middleman. I love that. Okay.
It's so untapped also. Like people don't realize that like there are so many people hitting up these sellers, but there's very few people in comparison. It's starting to become more popular because people are knowing more about Keighley and their strategy and stuff. And there's more like community building with like Subto and Astro of like learning like, oh, this is a method where you can like really like bring value by like being the disposition guy instead of necessarily the acquisition guy. But there's way less there are like 3 other people I know in the Bay Area who are around as good as me as like a disposition wholesaler, while I know like tons who are acquisition wholesalers, I would say. So it's like, it's just way less competition. And also once you've built it, what's crazy is once you've closed deals, once you've proven yourself, which might take a year or two, people just send me deals now. I like what you usually have to do at the beginning is follow up. But eventually you have those relationships. And like, I got a call today from like an agent who really knows me well. And like, I don't think I've closed a deal with him yet, but he just likes me. And he was just like, Jonah, I got one for you. And I haven't hit him up in a while. Like he's been kind of like in my database, but it's been a while. And I think it's going to be a solid deal. So like, it's cool in that way, in the sense that it's it's like constantly flowing, and it's like a channel that never really leaves until they quit real estate.
Dude, so much value you just gave. Like everyone who's listening to, like, Jonah just told you how to get a deal with no money and literally not even leaving your freaking computer. For all you little nerds there behind your computer who are scared to go talk to people, you don't have to talk to people. You just have to use your little fingers, right? Like it's that easy. You make money. Like you don't have to go like you have to in this situation you have to like pull a list. You have to talk to a freaking seller over and over again.
No.
Dude, that was amazing. Like if you guys just got value from that, like let us know. I don't know if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, but wherever you're watching this, like come on, like give Jonah some love for that. Like that was freaking amazing. Seriously,
it's a good business model. Honestly, I think and you'll evolve into what you like too, right? Like,
yeah,
I like going back a little bit.
Evolution. Talk about this evolution. So
talking back to my story a little bit. So I joined Astro. I am stubborn. I'm a very stubborn human being. So like I kind of wanted to do both that and direct to seller at the same time, because I am naturally salesy. So I was like, I think I could do direct to seller as well, because I'm so dope that I can do everything all at once, right? Which is not the attitude you want. You want to, I think focus is super important. And I think that's also an issue that a lot of people do, is they'll be like, okay, I'm going to do direct to seller, and then I'm also going to do this agent thing. And then, maybe I'll do a burr at the same time. Like it's like, dude, stop, focus. Like focus on something. If it's going to be agents, do agents. If it's going to be direct to seller, do direct to seller. If it's the Lanza method, do the Lanza. Like whatever it is you're doing to get deals, stick to it and just do it consistently. And don't start adding other channels until you've developed the other channels, in my opinion. Where was I going with that? So I was doing both at the same time, right? I actually got my first deal, which was a direct to seller deal. And that took me about 4 months to do. And that was just still direct to seller, again, being stubborn. And that worked out, which was good. And I was also kind of doing the Astro method at the same time. But the Astro method was not giving results because I was doing the direct to seller more. So what ended up happening eventually, because what I did, because again, I'm crazy. I didn't pay off the credit cards once. My first deal was $10K. I didn't pay off the credit cards. I immediately bought Subto. I was like, fuck it, we're going all in. We're gonna double down on the education here, and like
double or nothing.
I'm gonna step in and say that move I actually like. That if you're gonna double down for Subto 100%, that gets Sam's seal of approval. But continue.
Okay, but anyway, so I doubled down on it. Meet pace, it was pretty dope. This thing, it's too hot in SF right now. But I doubled down on that, which was dope. And I started learning creative finance really early, which was really cool. And I kept doing direct to seller marketing. But because I was doing both kind of half-assed, in my opinion, it took me another 8 months to get my next deal. And I think it was kind of the universe, because what was happening is instead of cold calling sellers every day for 4 hours, I'd cold call for 1 hour. and then I would do agents for 2 hours, and then I would do, an appointment. Like everything was cut in half on both strategies. So eventually I'm starting to get nervous because I've doubled down like quite a bit at this point. And I'm like, dude, I'm spending way too much on marketing. I need to focus. I'm going to focus on the one that's cheaper, which for me was Astro. Astro is like the cheaper method. Obviously, you learn Lonza method and stuff like that, but I kind of already started in Astro first. So my business was more set up for Astro, honestly, than it was for Subto stuff. So I just was like, dude, I'm cutting off the direct to seller marketing. We're switching fully into the Astro model. And then I got a deal in like 2 weeks because I focused. Instead of like 50 agents, it was 200 agents a day, which quadrupled the quickness of me being able to get a deal.
So, I mean, talking about that, right? I mean, I think there's so much value in that. And in the investor space, there's so many opportunities, right? Like there's cold calling, there's hiring VAs, there's SMS, PPC, Facebook, there's agent reach out, right? Which is what you're primarily talking about right now. And the reality with new people is they're always looking for the next kind of wave to ride on, and they don't stay on that wave long enough for it to actually, bear the fruit. So for you, you had, what was it, 8 months? You said it was 8 months of going without getting another deal. And then the second
6 or 8 months,
6 to 8 months without, going and trying these things, not getting a deal. And the second that you decided, so within 2 weeks of you deciding to singularly focus, it just was like that.
Immediately. Which I don't believe in God necessarily. I believe in like the universe. And that immediately was like, all right, that's a sign. That's been what it's been. I needed to wait for, was like a little click like that. So I just knew it was like, okay, I got to focus.
Okay. So, I mean, let's talk about this a little bit, right? Because everyone knows about cold calling and hiring VAs and texting. Subto kind of really put driving for dollars at the forefront with our challenge. But not a lot of people really focus on agent outreach. So can you kind of give us like a quick breakdown on what that looks like?
So it's interesting. It's a very different strategy than direct to seller, honestly. Like it's dealing with, and here's why. How I describe it is a seller is there's like this is gonna get like, there's some, like, I think it was like a Confucian saying or something, where it's like you can't fill a bowl that already has water in it. That's an agent. Like an agent already has a very specific idea of how things should go. While what's cool is a seller doesn't necessarily, and they're more like willing to listen to ideas, and they have more of that like beginner mindset is what I call it, where like they don't know, but they're like interested in hearing things like creative financing, interested in like, like creative solutions you can come up with. And like I have a line that I use with direct to sellers that makes them totally cool with assignments where they like just could care less. While like agents have all these preconceptions of like, they have preconceptions about wholesalers. They have preconceptions about everything that's supposed to happen in a transaction, that is the hard part, in my opinion. That's the part that's hard to overcome.
Give us an example of a situation where you had to reshape the concrete brain of an agent.
So, I mean, it happens all the time. Like basically what will happen is I get a property under contract. I put in there an assignment clause. It literally says like, this contract is assignable and you can't do anything about it in legalese, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get that signed. I do my email blast, and then immediately an agent is like calling me super mad. Like, what are you doing? Like, are you wholesaling this? And I'm like, actually, and then what you do, this is just a solution to that. Because what happens is humans, when somebody's mad at them, especially when you're new, you have no idea what you're doing, right? Like you like kind of curl up and you're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, like you've never done a deal. Like you don't have that confidence that you need to have. And what you need to say is, yeah, actually, this is one of our exit strategies because we're real estate investors and we're in the business of making money. So we explore every single avenue. We explore wholesaling, we explore fix and flipping, and we explore buy and hold. And in fact, I put it in my contract that this is assignable. So I don't really understand. It sounds like you're angry, but honestly, this is exactly what was put in the contract. And you just say it like outright. You are the captain now once you have the purchase contract, like that from that movie. Like, you are the one in control. The agent thinks they're in control, but they're not. They're representing you. They work for you once the purchase contract is signed. So it's just a bit of a different game, in my opinion, that like you kind of have to learn the rules of. That's different than direct to seller. Obviously, so I kind of forgot what the question was. I forgot where I was going with that. But that's like a difference in it. That's like one situation that happens all the time.
Yeah, that's awesome. So give us kind of the evolution. So we're talking about agent outreach, right? And talked about how you just had to educate the agent, and they're essentially that they're a little bit more brick brained, where a seller, they're what I call bubblegum brain, right? Like they're willing to let new things go in, where agents are just like, no, I already know what I know, and you're not going to tell me anything. I have a license to prove it. Right. And so you did a good job of explaining the difference between like using a agent outreach model versus going direct to seller. So tell us a little bit about how your business has evolved from doing the very first deal where you did direct to seller, and then you transitioned into doing the JV model with agent outreach, and then kind of tell us a little bit about, do you work with other, so now you're working with other wholesalers, you're just doing this, like what does your business look like today as we sit in these chairs?
So my main business model is still agent outreach. It's agent outreach and wholesalers that I've made connections with in the Bay Area. The other side of my business is a bit of the Lonza method, which for people who don't know, the Lonza method is basically helping wholesalers everywhere do creative deals and do direct to seller. Because I still did 8 months of cold calling. So like I know how to talk to a seller pretty gosh darn well. And I've asked Pace a bajillion questions about creative financing. So I can do that pretty well too. Yeah. It's really it's more like that part of my business is more like it just kind of falls out of the sky because I'm lucky and blessed to have been put on by Jamil, Pace, you guys, a few other people in podcasts. I got interviewed by like an agent. So like my name's kind of out there, and I have my own podcast. So my name's kind of out there. So every once in a while, wholesalers kind of just bring me things, and then I talk to the sellers and I'll close creatively anywhere. But it's a really small part of my business model. Like I only own one rental that's in Georgia. And that's basically been what's come of it. But it's because I am consciously not doing it consistently, because that's not what I want to be focusing on. It just kind of comes out of the blue every once in a while. And for me right now, that's okay. In terms of the agent, that I do very systematically, very consistently. When it was just me, I do 100 new agent outreach. And then I do another 100 follow-up via text. So I'd follow up with 100 agents every single day that I already know. And then I would outreach to 100 new agents every single day. I would add 80-ish people on Facebook groups. That could be buyers, wholesalers, or agents. And then I would just analyze the deals and talk to them. I would just talk to them on the phone for the rest of the day, and then deal with any deals that are in escrow. And now it's starting to change because I've hired people. Like I now have an AC manager, I have a TC, I have what I call an acquisition specialist, which is just a VA who does all the initial parts, and she sets up all my campaigns and all my technology. And I'm about to hire what I call a disposition specialist, who literally their only job is getting buyers all day. That's all they're going to do.
So Sam, will you tell the people out there a little bit what an AC manager is, what a dispo manager is, and a couple of these pieces that Jonah's hiring in his business. So anyone's out there who doesn't understand what these positions are.
Right. So when he says AC, it's going to be short for acquisitions. And acquisitions is basically getting a lead coming in, getting it locked up, getting it under contract, turning it into a deal. That's what AC is. It's acquisitions. Now for Jonah, an AC specialist, which is a VA kind of doing some tech stuff. It's typically a little bit different than acquisitions for direct to seller marketing. For
I would say it equals a lead manager.
There we go.
That's exactly what I would. That's the equivalent in a direct to seller model.
So in a traditional wholesale company that's doing straight direct to seller marketing, when they have an acquisitions person, an acquisition specialist, acquisitions manager, these are people who are typically on the phones talking to sellers, working the lead until the seller is ready to either be put in front of what we call a closer, which can also be called an acquisitions manager, just a higher level one. And the closer's job, because this person is still on the acquisition side, is when that seller is primed and ready to go, the closer comes in, has that final conversation, and gets them to sign on the dotted line. But this is, in general, what AC specialists are, AC managers are. These are basically lead managers and follow-up specialists.
Right.
It's awesome.
Exactly.
And Jonah, tell us now, like, let's hear the numbers, man. Like, what does your business do monthly? And is it consistent? Does it jump up and down? Like, show us some juicy numbers.
I'm in California.
Don't hold back.
What happens in California is it'll be like, I'll have a month that's like 5K, and then I'll have a month that's like 125K. That's just how it works. Like in California. Because it is rough when you lose these deals, but you get like big old whales of assignment fees, right? So my business is like, it's been averaging probably like 40 to 50K in revenue a month right now.
That's awesome.
I'm really hoping that I can get my AC manager starting to move. He's only been there a month, so I'm impatient. I talked to Jamil. He's like, dude, this guy's going to take like 3 months to get a deal. And I'm like, no, I want it sooner. I'm gunning for it.
With an outreach model and JV model, what are your biggest expenses in that model?
The biggest expenses are like the software, probably like all the different softwares I use, like my Podio, Zapier. The texts still cost money to like send to people, like the follow-ups and the outreach.
So what do you think like your nut is every single month? Like, is it 5,000, 10,000? Like what's your nut that you have to make in order to cover those tech costs?
My expenses are probably 10 to 15K. It's going to be a lot. I think it's going to be 15 to 20 once I hire that new disposition specialist, and I'm giving some people raises because they've like been with me for a year and I think they deserve it. So probably 15. Well, it's okay. So how I do it also is almost my entire life is a business expense, not like everything, right? But like my rent is a business expense because this is my home office. Like my car is a business expense whenever I'm doing business stuff. So it's really like 15K, but it's my entire life except groceries, damn near. Yeah. Right. And that 25K, or what is it? Yeah. 25 to 30 to 35K is just what I call, it's just screw around money, more or less. It's like, it's not fully screw around money, right? I mean, like a third, how I do it is money management lesson of how I do it. I do like a third to taxes, a third to reinvest into the business, and then a third is like this is my screw around money, like where I just get to eat nice and party and stuff like that, or like do whatever the hell I feel like with. And
I gotta ask this. I have to ask this. Because we know you work your butt off, right? We know you got some of the best work ethic in our community.
Do I party hard too? Is that what?
Yeah. What is that? What does that do around money? I mean, what does it do? What does it fund? I want to know that. That's what the people want to know.
Cocaine and strippers, Sam. Cocaine and strippers. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. No, it's mainly. What the hell is it? Like, honestly, I like eating nice. I really enjoy eating nice. It's really cool to go to nice restaurants and not worry about it.
What kind of food do you like? Are you like a seafood, a shrimp, or a sushi? Or are you like
I'm a vegetarian, so
none of those things.
Yeah, so none of that. The one thing I do eat, like I'm a vegetarian except for one exception, which is sushi. I was like, dude, it's just not worth living life with not eating sushi, in my opinion. Sure. So I was like, that's the one thing. And then everything else is vegetarian. But I mean, like, I live in San Francisco. This place, everything is vegetarian except like Chinese food. Like Sam knows I like broke when it was like we were eating it because I'm like, dude, I do not just want like tofu and rice right now. I'm just feeling it. I'm not like a cultist about it, but generally I eat vegetarian.
So Jonah, when Munif and I were up in San Francisco, we stayed there for an extra like day and a half to take in the sights, to kind of, take in the city. Jonah's like, we have to go to Chinatown. We have to go to this place in Chinatown. Okay. And Munif and I, we don't have a car. We don't have any of this stuff. So we literally walked through Chinatown. Spent like an hour walking through the town. Chinatown's amazing, but we got to this dope little restaurant, and all this amazing food comes out. We get like 8 plates of food, right? It's just ridiculous amounts of food. And then, we're all about to start. And then we look over and Jonah's just struggling. I
was like, dude, this is so not worth it. I sometimes do that where I'm like, dude, it's just not worth it if there isn't really good vegetarian options. And then like, it's just fun stuff. Like recently I went to, like, it would just be like when I was in, like I just went with like my friend for like Memorial Day weekend. We like just went to Austin and screwed around, which was like really fun. Like I'm able to buy anything within reason, which is like cool. Like I don't know, like I have to think about like what I've even been spending money on. It's just my like, honestly, you know what it really is? It's my security blanket of like knowing what I love about the past year is like I don't even really need to look at the credit card. Like for me now, like I know I'm not spending a ridiculous amount of money. It's not like there's $10,000 on there. It's always like between 2 and 4 or something like that. But to know that like I can do it and like I don't feel anxious about it, that's what I really like about it. Is it buys me that. It buys me like not being anxious about my expenses. And it like buys me like I can like buy drinks at a bar, which is like super expensive here, or I can like buy like I can like treat everyone to dinner or like whatever. Like it's usually stuff like that I spend most of my money on. And then I also do, and also like this is changing, but like I also had part of that would like part of it would go to charity, and then also part of it would go to stock market investments, which is like just it's been simply the S&P 500. But then I'm starting to do it where I'm doing a whole life insurance policy, which like we could really go into that. That's like a whole different strategy. I don't know if you guys know about, but that's like a whole nother thing that like is I learned at a mastermind. Pace talks about it a little bit, but it's a way to. Do you guys want me to talk about it? This will take a while.
No, it'll go forever. I've literally been down this rabbit hole trying to understand it for.
It's gonna take a while, and like I don't really want to go into it. But anywho, that's how
I'm not smart enough to understand insurance.
You could definitely do it. It's just like that's a whole thing in and of itself. But that's like what I spend my money on.
So what is Jonah? When was it when you got your first deal?
That was July of 2020 was my first deal.
So it's been about 2 years since you've been participating, getting paid in this wholesale game. What does the future look like for you and your business going into the rest of 2022? Like, what is your primary goal?
So my primary goal, so I have a bunch of different goals. I have a goal to reach. I really got to work hard. I might be able to hit it because next month is going to be a really good month, but I'm really trying to hit $1 million in revenue before June 1st because that's around the 2-year mark. And I just want to say that. I want to be like, I want to say that in 2 years, I got $1 million in revenue. And then this year, the goal is to hit $1 million in revenue too. So like my first $1 million was from everything I'd done. And then just 2022 year end, I want to say I've made $1 million either in creative or wholesale or flipping, whichever one, any of those.
Dude.
That's my like financial goal. And
that's
then
awesome. What are you gonna do with that money? You're gonna make $1 million. What are you gonna do with it? You're gonna spend it? You're gonna keep it? What are you gonna do with it?
Same thing I was gonna do. Same thing I was gonna do before. Wait, what did you say?
That's lots of Chinese food.
A lot of Chinese food. So
exactly.
This is something I haven't even thought about. I probably should think about that. Again, third to taxes, third to the business, third to myself, but mainly the most amount of my money is going to just keep scaling, right? So that's the financial goal. The life goal for me right now, I'm 27. What I'm trying to do is just kind of be a nomad and kind of be wherever I want. Like I'm moving to Denver in 2 months, right? Like I'm just doing that because I want to live in Denver. My goal, my like life goal is to just kind of be like, I think I'm gonna like Denver. I might stay there a year. Maybe I won't like it. And then I might just join the boat, live in Phoenix for like 3 months. I can't. I personally don't like.
Just during the
I
summertime.
love you guys so much. That's the only reason I'd ever live there.
June, July, and August.
I'm personally not a fan. Yeah, I'm for sure skipping the summer. I'm not spending a summer in Phoenix, but I personally don't like the city of Phoenix. But I love all of you guys so much that I think it'd be fun to like hang out for 6 months or something. And then just keep exploring everywhere. That's my life goal, is to just make a business where I can be wherever I want and do whatever I want and just have dope experiences, which I'm like 95%. Like I've already, like, I think I've hit it. Like I'm going to Denver and I have enough money. My business is set up enough where I don't have to be in California anymore. What I've been doing recently is I've been just collecting boots on the ground. And like I like at the Airbnb event, one of the dopest thing I got out of that, because I know how to analyze Airbnb deals. Like I knew, like a lot of what they were teaching I already knew, because I get lunch with Noah Hoffman. Like I hang out with him like I'd say like we haven't been hanging out as much, but I try to do it like between a quarter and 2 quarters we get lunch. So I really know a lot about Airbnbs, but for me, like I already had this in my head, was I want to meet people who are newer, who are going to be my boots on the ground. Yeah. Like that's what I need right now. And I know I'm going to get this from this event, is where I'm going to like meet people who are newer. I'm going to pay them like $80 to go see a house or show a house. And I'm going to teach them how to do it. And that's like the next step, just to achieve that goal. And I think I've hit it. Like I've got like 2 or 3 people in the peninsula, and then I've got 2 people in the East Bay. I've got 2 people in the South Bay, and that's like the main parts of the Bay Area. And then there's one like guy in Sacramento who's just like, he's in Subto and Astro, and he just is super consistent in being like willing to see stuff for me. And I'm gonna get like another one up there too. But
why aren't you buying Airbnbs?
That was going to be my next question. Is, I mean, like all of this is amazing, and it means that you've flushed out this business model in such a big way. But I mean, this is active income, right? This is active income that is at your scale. It's predictable, it's sustainable, it's scalable, right?
Yeah.
But I mean,
somewhere between 5 and 125,000.
Yeah, exactly. So, but because Jonah's young, you just turned 27. 20, you just turned 27. So I mean, is like building a portfolio, is that like later down the road, or is that something you're thinking about?
It goes back to everything we were just talking about. Focus, and goes back to the focus. Yeah. The issue is, it goes back to the focus and what I was just talking about with the agents kind of having that half water, like their cup is already full. I have had so much trouble with agents with anything creative financing whatsoever. Personally, I am still trying to figure it out. I know Pace has done it before, but Pace's story, where he bought that house that he used to live in, how he did it was literally the agent. It was impossible for the agent to sell it. There was literally no way it would sell the conventional way. Yeah. That is, in my head, almost the only way where an agent will be willing to do it. An agent would rather this, it's not that they would rather, they just don't understand creative financing so much that they almost would always rather just lower the price, because it's just in their head and they get it. And then it's also 2 barriers with creative now. Now I need to convince the agent, then I need to also convince the seller, right? So it's like I'm going through 2 different barriers right now, not just one. And one of them, the first barrier, is already like, I don't even like this. And also most of my stuff is in the Bay Area and Sacramento. In the Bay Area, 5% or like whatever they're going to make, like even 2.5% of $1 million, what is that? That's like 25K. Which, like, if you start that like just doing it my way means I have to pay 25K extra usually per deal that I would buy creatively.
Well, so why do you have to source your own deal? Maybe like Sam's buying Airbnbs, I'm buying Airbnbs. Why don't you just team up with us or someone else in the Subto group?
I mean, I hit you up, like Logan. Like we were talking about
we're gonna do a deal.
Me buying an Airbnb. I'm not saying I'm against it like that way either. No. And like I am looking into the other methods because like you have to bring one of the things. You have to bring the deal, the money, or the management, or like doing it right. I am starting to get the point, and this is what I hit you up about is like I'm starting to get a point where like that screw around money also should become investment money. Yeah. And I might start lending money based on equity for those people who want that. The thing is, Subto students like you guys a lot of you guys would rather just go, you guys can know how to get, you two are like super like experienced, so you guys would probably get private money that's just an interest rate. The only way I could do it, I think, would be finding those people who just want a really easy route and don't really want to raise private money, and then I could get in that way.
Yeah.
But again, then it just comes back
I would give you equity if you were to broker some private money for me all day.
What?
I'd give you equity if you were to broker private money.
Well, so there we go.
Give you equity for bringing private money all day long.
I would give equity just if we could hang out a few more times.
Exactly.
Once a month we go and get lunch.
I mean, that's one way to do it too. Just be a dude.
There's the fourth tangible, Jonah, and you're right about that.
The fourth tangible of just being.
The fourth tangible is just a relationship. Like I'll give someone equity to be in
a
relationship with them, and so that's one thing that you have.
And that's what like I'm talking about in the sense of I still have that part that's like falling out of the sky. Like I'll get things that could be deals, and I'm like, it's not like I'm not talking to sellers right now. I am. But again, it's two parts. That first part is it's really hard with agents. And then the second part is focus. To me, and because I just learned this lesson so hard, is like I really want the agents developed first. So in my head, how I want it is I want 2 acquisition managers that are actually bringing in at least a deal a month. One in Sacramento, one in the Bay Area. Then I'm going to become fully go into the Lonza method and actually systematize that out into a business where I'm going to start buying things. That's my plan right now. It comes from the focusing. Like for me, like the buying the properties, like I definitely want to own properties, but I kind of want it to fall out of the sky a little bit because of that focus. It's that lesson. It's remember this stubbornness thing. Once I am the personality. Once I latch onto something and it's working, I'm gonna or I just latch onto things, whether it's like not working or working, and then I'm like, okay, you idiot, like do this. Like this is obviously what you need to do, and then switch it up. So trust me, I'm trying to buy properties. It's just that
Sam's gonna bring you a deal. It's gonna fall out of the sky.
I'm always down. If people want to bring me deals, I'm also down. I'm
definitely fall out of the sky. You're gonna look up. It's gonna be me in a helicopter throwing down deals at you. That's what it's actually gonna look like.
I'm not against it either. Like for sure. Like I'm 100% for it. And I can bring a lot of things too. Like I actually raised a lot of private money because I was raising private money for my one rental that I own in Georgia. Mm-hmm. I lease optioned it, and. Yeah, so I can bring a lot of money.
Let's go on this. Yeah, so this is a good point. So people out there listening, people are gonna be real estate investors. They're gonna probably have deals. So, what value do you? Obviously, you provide a lot of value, right? But in a situation to buy, how much money do you think you could bring to the table for someone? Let's say they had a deal. Is it like 25? Is it 100? Is it $1 million? What do you think?
So I could bring a lot of private money to a deal. I could probably bring like 500K just from what I did for like a month. And if I actually tried really hard, but again, it's not really my focus, but if I tried really hard, I could bring even more private money. It's just, if anyone's listening and they need money and they're willing to give me equity in a deal, I'll find you money. I'll make it where we have money. That's for me right now, the part that I can bring out of that equation, because I'm not going to manage the Airbnb. It's just not going to happen. Bringing the deal again, it would need to switch focuses. And I really want this agent thing to get like dialed in to the point where like I can trust everyone else to do that part, right? Because if I let up on the agents, because I've done this before, this also happened a little bit. Once I got that first deal, honestly, it wasn't just one deal, like 3 other deals hit the next month after that, right? Once I started focusing on it. But then I'm like, hell yeah, I'm out of my parents' apartment. I'm in this dope apartment. Like I'm actually by myself. I'm finally.
What do you pay for rent in that San Francisco apartment?
It's not it's like I got a crazy good deal because it was like right at the
10,000 for 1,000 square feet.
No, not even close. It's not that crazy. I pay like 1,625, something like that. But I have a roommate, so we split like 3,250. But this apartment was like 5,000 before the pandemic. The pandemic just made rents drop here because everybody in tech was like, why would I live here when I can live anywhere? But anyway, so I got lazy. I like let off the brake because I was like, I'm doing good. Let's chill for a second. And then it dried up for like a month. I'm like, okay, I can't chill. I'm never letting this stop. And I'm not at the point where I can confidently trust my act manager to keep it going and keep the money coming in. Because, so, I don't know. It's like my philosophy. I mean, I know Sam, for instance. I mean, you're just doing crazy stuff and like just doing all sorts of nutty things. You're doing agent outreach. You're like gonna do agent outreach and doing direct to seller and doing the Lonza method.
So I do very little. He's totally lying. I do nothing at all.
That's not true. I'm having him and Faisal on my podcast tomorrow, and it's they're when you guys gave me your bios, I'm like shit. Like I'm doing worse than that.
Sam's just here because he's pretty. That's one.
Yeah, that's true.
It is my only value.
I call Sam. Sam is the second most attractive guy in Subto. I'm sorry, Luciano beats you. He's the one guy who beats you.
Luciano is good looking.
That dude is. Like I was like, damn, he's a model.
I thought you were gonna say Pace. Pace is in person.
Pace is also attractive, but like
Pace is attractive.
That guy's got too much going for him. I don't want to implement that guy.
He's rich. He's good looking. He's got a beautiful family. He's such a giver. Like too beautiful inside and out.
Right.
But Luciano is amazing. So I met Luciano in Phoenix, right? Just not to go off on this too much, but Luciano in person is an amazing dude. We connected deeper on a phone call maybe a week or two ago. Just a phenomenal human being. So yes, he's also extremely handsome. So Subto's there's something in the water at Subto, man. I think there is. It may be a Phoenix thing. I don't know. Maybe if I move to Phoenix, that's how you become more attractive. I'm not sure yet.
So quick side tangent is Noah lives in San Francisco. Why is he trying to get you to move to Phoenix? He doesn't even live there.
Yeah, I didn't understand that either. Trying to get Sam to move to Phoenix.
And it's like,
that was hilarious though.
Noah is, for anyone that didn't see it, like go on my social media, go on Noah Hoffman's social media, you'll see this man at he was in Dallas. It was like midnight at Dallas. He has obviously nothing better to do.
So funny.
Just photoshops me onto a billboard, and the billboard says Sam moved to Phoenix. And then the whole haha thing is like, hey, look, I saw, if you're looking for a sign to move to Phoenix, I saw one. That being said, I get like at least 10, 15 DMs probably every day, like through text and DMs about when are you going to move to Phoenix? When are you going to move to Phoenix?
That's hilarious.
So if we can isolate and confirm that that's why Luciano is hot, then I'll move to Phoenix. Then it's a done deal.
We'll do a scientific experience.
If someone brings a Subto 0% down, 0% interest deal to Sam in Tempe or Mesa or Scottsdale, he'll consider it. Okay. Until then, quit asking. Bring the deal.
Exactly.
I love it.
So John, as we wrap up here, like the people always want to help people, right? And so let's give people, instead of having them come to you and say, Jonah, how can I help you? Just tell them, like, how can people serve you? What can they do for you? Like in perfect situation, someone reaches out, how do they do it?
So how they should reach me is at the Scorch. So it's THESKORCH. That's Instagram. And then you can also reach me on my phone number, which is 510-726-8684. That's like my CRM number, which lets me take notes about whatever we're talking about.
That's not creepy.
That's what. What'd you say?
So that's not creepy.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. People have to deal with it. Like it's how I can take notes about the deals we're talking about. Because if you text my personal number, I tried this for a while. I'm like, dude, I have no idea what's happening here. Like, this is just not efficient. What I need, if anybody in the Bay Area or Sacramento is watching this and you're willing to be boots on the ground, I would be incredibly grateful. That is like my number one thing, because like I said, personal goal is being able to not be here. Other than that, honestly, like I really just want to be brought leads. Like I said, I like how I get those out of the sky creative finance deals every once in a while is literally just me doing social stuff and then people being like, dude, can you help me close this deal? I'm like, sure, bro. Like I'll do that. Like I'll talk to the seller and stuff like that. So I'd say leads, that I'll never turn away private money. Never. Like it's always a good thing. But I'd say those as a wholesaler, those are like the three things that I think I need right now. If you're wanting to wait for it, I'm planning in August to hire that second acquisitions manager. So if you're willing to wait for it, that could be cool too. I take money. I'll give you my mailing address. You can just send me money. I don't know.
Venmo's fine, right? Venmo.
Exactly. Anonymous Venmos.
I did this training Zoom, and we'll start wrapping it here. But I did this training Zoom the other day. It was like a 2-3 hour training Zoom for new students on how to get plugged into an established real estate business. And for people who are on the newer side, right? They're on the newer side. They maybe don't have a giant budget. They need to learn from someone who's experienced. Your business model is basically throwing typical lead generation out the door, right? It's a lean model in that sense. They can learn how to do something that's very unique, because not a lot of people in Subto are doing Realtor Reachout. And out of the people who are, I think you blow them out of the water. I think there's no one that comes close. So if they can plug in with you, provide value by being boots on the ground and just doing little auxiliary things like that, maybe coming on as an act manager when the time's right, they can learn how to do an extremely lean niche model that's also high performing.
Yeah, like 100%. I'm going to take your advice too. We had a phone call about this where I'm soon going to set up a thing where I'm going to teach people. Like, I'm going to be like, dude, I'm just going to open up all my systems. I'm going to show you exactly how I do this. I'm just going to do a Zoom, put it on there, exactly how I outreach to realtors, what programs I use. The only reason why I'm not doing it right now is I'm switching CRMs. So it's going to be very different than what I've been doing, because my current CRM is kind of screwing up once I started adding people other than me. It's a great solopreneur software, but it's really screwing me for adding people. It like keeps switching my numbers, which is super annoying. But yeah, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to just keep giving value, and yeah, if people want to send me deals, that'd be dope, because I could use some depreciation. That would be nice. I'm in California. I'm probably paying 50% in taxes if I had to give a guess.
You use a nice little tax write-off, right?
Yeah, that would be nice to have a bit more tax write-off.
Jonah, dude, thank you so much for giving us and the people out there an hour of your time and sharing your wisdom and your story of where you are, where you came from, where you are, and even where you're going. It's cool. We really appreciate all the little insights, all the little nuggets. There's so many nuggets in here. Sam, dude, thank you for asking amazing questions. And this is episode 1, guys. Like, this is episode 1. And Jonah, I'm gonna make you commit right now. Will you be back on this podcast once either you make $1 million in your business or $1 million in a year, or we get to, I don't know, we'll say episode 100. How about that? Like, if we don't have you back on by episode 100, or you don't make $1 million, something went wrong.
Or just have me on next week, I could just be the guest always. No, of course. I'll come on whenever you guys need me to or want me to. I'm down.
I would absolutely love that, Jonah, dude. I mean, this is episode 1. This is huge for me and for Logan, for us coming together in this way, and having a dope guest like you is massive. So, dude, thank you for honoring us in being our first guest. I can't wait to have you back again, man. Next week, the week after too. It's
whenever. You guys got to come up with a name, though. That's more important than you think.
Yeah.
People constantly are telling me like you did it, like on our group text. You're like, dude, I'm gonna scorch you if you don't have a good story. Like people like make jokes. That's all from my podcast and like my Instagram stories talking about it. So it's you guys need to come up with a name. That's like
we'll figure it out. We'll like, I don't know, man. We'll
let the people figure it out.
Let the people vote.
Yeah,
exactly.
Awesome. Well, Jonah, appreciate you so much. Sam, appreciate you, my friend. Happy Wednesday. Thank you all for being on episode 1. We'll be back next week with a special guest.
Hell yeah. It was fun.
All right. Bye, guys.